When you're overwhelmed, even simple decisions can really feel impossible. Today, you'll learn why your brain shuts down under pressure, what decision fatigue really is, and the tools that help you think clearly when everything feels like too much. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Workplace Therapy, Dr. Abby Metcalf. That's me. So, if you have ever opened an email, maybe this is just me, stared at it and felt your brain dissolve into fog, you know what overwhelm does to your decision making. You're not confused, you're not lazy, you're overloaded. And when your cognitive load maxes out, your brain does what any overwhelmed system does. It freezes. This is really common. So decision making, it takes energy. It requires your prefrontal cortex, which is, the part of your brain responsible for planning, logic, impulse control, weighing options, all that good stuff, all your rationality. And under stress, that part goes offline. Your brain shifts into, it shifts resources of your brain into survival mode. That's what it does, which is why you suddenly can't decide, which tasks to start, what to prioritize, whether to send the email you've written or that you've rewritten 4 times. So research shows that decision fatigue reduces accuracy, increases impulsivity, and leads to avoidance, which is, this. That's why you're, eating Oreos at 2 a.m. and not going to bed and doom scrolling. These are poor decisions. That's what's happening, right? And you're feeling impulsive. So it's really the reason you stare at your screen for 20 minutes and then reward yourself with a snack you didn't want because you're like bored. You're not bad at making decisions. It's just that, your brain is really fully out of resources. So let's talk about why your brain shuts down when you're overwhelmed. And for anybody new here, I have a great free download for today to get deeper on this. And anytime I say the research or I refer to episodes I've already done on some of these topics, you can find that below the video if you're watching on YouTube. Like and subscribe if you are, please. Or you can go to the website and go to this episode. You'll see it under episodes and everything will be there, including a full blog that I write for every episode. So it's not a transcript, it's an actual blog. So if you know someone who could benefit from this and they don't listen to podcasts or watch videos, you could send them the blog. Okay. So why does your brain shut down when you're overwhelmed? There's a lot of reasons. I'm going to give you 5 main reasons your brain shuts down when you're overwhelmed that I find most commonly in my practice and from the research. Number 1 is cognitive overload. Your working memory can only handle so much information at once. When you go past that limit, your brain starts dropping balls. That's what happens. It becomes harder to keep track of your options or the consequences or next steps. Number 2 is that stress reduces prefrontal cortex functioning. So when you're stressed, your brain shifts from planning mode into survival mode, and the prefrontal cortex loses efficiency. And at the same time, those emotional centers in your brain, your amygdala, becomes louder. So this is going to make even small decisions feel big and big decisions feel impossible. I know right now you're like, are you in my head, Abby? Are you home with me? No, it's because this is all of us. So number 3 is, I see this a lot, fear of making the wrong choice. A lot of people don't have trouble deciding. They have trouble tolerating uncertainty. And the more you fear mistakes, the more you fear, doing it wrong, the more you loop through options without choosing, right? I see you. The 4th reason is that you confuse urgency with importance. Overwhelm leads to what we call urgency blindness in the research, and everything feels immediate or high stakes. Your brain starts treating all tasks as equally important because it can't differentiate anymore. I know, that's a thing. You're not a drama king or queen. That's a thing. And number 5 is you've hit emotional saturation, which is different than number 1, which was the cognitive overload. Because decision-making requires emotional regulation. And when you're saturated, your tolerance drops. So even decisions that are pretty neutral are going to feel really loaded. And I hope that understanding the mechanics of overwhelm Like my hope here is that it lets you stop blaming yourself and start managing your brain instead, which is what we're going to get to. All right. So there's three decisions. There's three decision-making traps. I'm going to say it that way, that I think keep you stuck. One is the I need more information trap. I know, I see you. I see you. I just need one more thing. One more thing. Let me look in one more place. You think more research will calm your mind, and it won't. Decision fatigue makes you overestimate how much data you need. Again, this is from the research. You become an information hoarder instead of a decision maker. I see you. I see you at your desk. I know. The second problem is I'm going to call it the perfect decision trap. Your overwhelm convinces you that there's one right answer, and there isn't. Most decisions just need to be good enough. So you get into analysis paralysis, right? This idea, this perfection creates a paralysis. And then the third decision-making trap I see is the everything matters equally trap. I'm going to call that one. Your brain stops filtering and you treat a 5-minute task like it's as important as a long-term project. I see you. And that flattens what we call your priority mapping in your brain. And that's what keeps you spinning. So to me, if you know which trap you fall into, you can interrupt it. And that's what we're going to try to do. So what can you do? What can I do, Abby? So there's, for this episode, I identified 6 ways to decide to make clear decisions when you're overwhelmed. That's what I'll call that. So number 1 is to reduce the cognitive load before deciding. You can't think clearly with a saturated brain. Start with a brain dump. Write down every thought, task, or worry that's taking up space. The research shows that offloading the information reduces cognitive load and improves your decision making. And it really clears the fog so your prefrontal cortex can come back online and help you make good decisions. I'm telling you, it's incredibly effective. Number 2, use what am I going to call this? I'm going to call it use the one sentence outcome. So ask yourself, what's the outcome I want from this decision? One clean sentence to really that really cuts through the emotional noise. I use this a lot when I'm working with executives or just people when they're having trouble with this stuff. So an example might be, what's one thing? I want clarity on next steps. I want to reduce my workload. I want progress, not perfection. Any of those things, when you define the outcome, the decision usually becomes kind of obvious. You'd be surprised. It's again, it's stopping the spin. The third thing you can do is I would really highly suggest limiting yourself to 2 options. More options increase overwhelm. Fewer options increase clarity. You'll learn this in business school. If you've got a table with 20 jams on it when they're trying to sell you a jam, you're going to pick none. If there's 2 or 3 jams on the table, you'll pick one. That kind of idea, the paradox of choice thing. So give yourself 2 choices and pick from those. Again, the research shows that reduced choice bandwidth leads to faster, more confident decisions. So if you're truly stuck, you can ask, what's the next smallest step that moves this forward? Something like that. That'll really help. That's one of my favorite questions. The fourth thing you can do is use a time boundary. Your brain, like people in general, needs containment. So I'm giving myself 5 minutes to choose. Set a timer for 5 minutes, or I'll make the decision by 2:30. Deadlines push you out of looping and into action. They're very effective. Again, it's all from the research. I'm telling you, there's small things, they really work. Number 5 is separate the deciding from the doing. Overwhelmed people treat decisions like tasks, right? They're not. I'm going to say that again. The decision is not the doing, is not the task. So decide first and act later. So for example, at 3 p.m., you might decide the top 3 things you'll do tomorrow. Tomorrow, you execute. So you're reducing the cognitive load of deciding in real time, and I'm telling you, it helps you do it. So separate decision making from the action part. It's probably one of the best tips that I'm going to give you today. It's simple but really effective. And the last one is to regulate your nervous system before the decision. One slow exhale can change the quality of your thinking. My favorite so before you decide something, just before you decide, do a double inhale, the double inhale, right? You inhale through your nose, get all the way at the top and take another sip of air right at the top, and then long, slow exhale. That's it. Relax your shoulders. Notice where your shoulders are. I always tell people, push your shoulders all the way up to your ears, do a little scrunching, and then let them go. And you'll feel how good that feels to have your shoulders down. Drop your jaw. Really good. Like really open your mouth and drop your jaw. You'll see all the tension you hold there. It shifts your brain out of stress mode and into clarity, and incredibly effective. So let me wrap up. You're not bad at decision making. You're living in a world of nonstop inputs. You're living in a world with competing priorities, with chronic cognitive overload. So when your brain is, I'm going to keep using that word, saturated, decisions feel impossible, not because you're incapable, but because your biology isn't designed for the constant pressure. So when you reduce the cognitive load, when you define your outcome, when you simplify your options, regulate your body, decision making gets easier. I'm telling you right now, it's faster, it's calmer, it's easier. Your decisions don't need to be perfect. They just need to be made from clarity, not overwhelm. And that's all we need to start with. So, I always have a section for these podcasts, putting today's lesson into action. And today's free download to help you integrate all this great learning is, I'm calling it the Clarity Compass. And it's basically a tool for helping you decide when you're overwhelmed. Okay, that's it. So it's what do I have in there? I've got a quick decision triage tool, like a little triage tool. There's a 2-option decision filter, because I keep talking about that. There's a 1-sentence outcome guide. And there's a little clear 5-minute kind of clear the fog worksheet in there. It's a quick thing you can do, but it'll sort of help you put everything from today's episode into learning. Okay. That's it for today. I make these really as short and sweet as I can. Definitely come get the free download again below the video if you're watching on YouTube, or you can get it over on the episodes tab on my website at abbymedcalf.com. And I have only one more episode in season 2. If you have any great ideas for season 3, shoot me an email at abby@abbymedcalf.com, or leave a comment below the video or somewhere else, DM me, social media or somewhere else, and let me know your thoughts. All right. Have an amazing week, and I will talk to you real soon.